Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Rashawn Broadnex here, and I wanted to come to you with a quick installment of Stream of Consciousness. So if you are not familiar with Stream of Consciousness, it is a little podcast that I do, I'll say semi-regularly. I haven't done it very much recently, but, my goal is to actually come back and do it, but also have interesting and viable things to talk about when I do. So today I am actually in the car and on my way to my parents' house in New Jersey, making my final approach. I'll be there in a few minutes, so I said let me do this while I'm in the car and I don't have a whole lot going on. But I wanted to talk to you today really quick, and I wanted to entitle this, "What Are We Talking About?" Right? And so what are we talking about? I am framing it from the reference point of being a hairstylist, and we know that we always have lots of interesting conversation with our clients, right? And so I know that when I see my clients, we're talking about a host of things. We're talking about, things that are going on in the world. We're talking about our personal lives. We're just kikiing. We're talking about TV, all that kind of stuff, right? But what are we really talking about is the question. What things are we talking about with our clients that can really make a difference? When I was in beauty school, one of the things that we learned was there are two things that you should never talk about in a salon setting, and that is religion and politics, right? And that ran, I'll say that was a spectrum of thought and activity, because it ranged from, in terms of religion, you don't want to talk about religious differences. You don't necessarily want to talk about your particular ideas on faith. You don't want to have certain types of religious music played in the salon. When it came to politics, we didn't want to talk about who we were voting for, why, whether we liked or disliked this person, all that kind of stuff. It was like really to keep a neutral atmosphere in the salon, where we did not cause any negative excitement in the salon, and we just wanted to create a atmosphere of peace and tranquility, because people are coming for a service, right? But I think oftentimes we do have the opportunity to talk to our clients, and it doesn't have to be a salon-wide conversation. Personally, where I work, I am very thankful for the atmosphere. When I first started doing hair, I was in a salon setting where I was right with everybody else, just feet away, maybe like 4 feet from the person next to me. Anything that I said, they could hear, they could chime in, all that kind of stuff. But in latter years, I'll say within like the past 10 years or so, maybe even a little more, I've been in a salon, not necessarily in a suite, but I've had enough room away from the stylist who sat next to me that I could have private conversation with my clients. And I think that has been very beneficial for me, because not only does it give us the opportunity to share, things on a more personal level, it gives you an opportunity to learn and know your client on a more personal level, but just to have general conversation that only you two can hear, and where it can stay between you two, right? It helps foster the one-on-one communication, and I think allows you to grow a level of closeness that you may not necessarily get when you're in an open space, right? Because working in a salon really is a personal thing. You're personally touching someone. You're feeling on them for about an hour or 2 hours. It is a very personal experience. And I think as hairstylists, we have to remember that part, that we are in close proximity and it is a very personal thing. So the emotional exchange also becomes very, very personal. As it relates to what we're talking about, for years, working in the salon has been a ideal setting to be able to pass on information. We pass on all kinds of information, from entertainment and culture all the way down to, personal advice and, things like that. We think that as hairstylists, we are psychologists. We think we know everything. So we have no problem offering our advice when a client comes in and shares things. Sometimes to our detriment. I have to remind myself that, Rashawn, just because somebody shared something with you does not mean that they are asking for your advice. So it's a delicate line to walk, but like I said, I think it is the prime opportunity for you to be able to share things. As it relates to what we are facing now in our country, I think that even though many of us may have been taught, don't talk politics, don't talk religion to your clients or in the salon atmosphere. I think if you know your client, you know the things that you may be able to share and talk with them about. And one of the things that I really enjoy about my clients is we seem to always have a very open dialogue, from where it comes to, political things to personal, all that. We have been able to have an open dialogue, and I am very appreciative of that, because I'm able to have an experience with my client where I don't feel like I ever have to walk on eggshells. Bringing it forward to, what we have going on in our country now, I think that in order for those of us who are considering that we need a change within our country, part of that is we have to have the exchange of ideas. We have to be able to talk to people and bounce things off. And so I think working in the salon is a great opportunity for you, if you feel so comfortable, to talk to your client, ask them about their ideas about things that are going on. Even if it's not to necessarily change anything in your mind or their mind, but just to hear about what are other people thinking about what's going on, right? And when you open those conversations, it is not for a combative conversation, but it is an exchange of ideas, or it could just be an opportunity to, like I said, to listen. One of the things that my most recent boss shared with me is that there are opportunities in life where we can just listen and learn. We don't always have to talk to people in the respect of, giving them the what to do and all that. Even if we are the subject matter expert, sometimes even as the subject matter expert, it is great to just listen, because in the listening we learn as well. So I think at this time, it is a prime opportunity to be able to talk to people, to listen and see what their ideas are, because we are in a state where, or in a time where, mobilization is going to be crucial. It is a time where we have to now start getting our plan together to get up and do something. We don't have the luxury of sitting back and saying, it doesn't really affect me, or, it's not going to matter much. This is a time where each person does not have that luxury to think, I don't have a horse in the race. Every decision that has been made recently is going to touch each one of us in some way, shape, or form. And even if we say, well, it doesn't touch us personally, it touches somebody you know. It touches somebody in your family. It touches somebody that maybe a neighbor, a school teacher, somebody in your community. We've seen so many things, like specifically with the ICE raids, how they have gone in and plucked people from the community that, may have been immigrants, may have been people of color, brown complexion, and they worked in the community. They were well known within their community, so much so that when they were plucked from the community, the people in the community said, hey, what happened to so-and-so? Why aren't they here? They knew them by name and they recognized when they were not there, right? And so it prompted them to get up and actually do something. They were able to mobilize in various ways, to do either protests or what have you, anything to kind of get out there and do something. And so I think right now we are in that place where, we have to mobilize. We have to get up and do something. But in order to do that, we have to figure out what is it that we can do? What should we be doing? And I think through conversation, that is where we kind of get those ideas. We're able to bounce those ideas off. So, I just wanted for a moment to encourage people to have those conversations with your clients, because we do have the opportunity, to have an ear. We have their ear for a certain period of time. Many of us, we do have their respect, where they do listen to us on a lot of different fronts, right? And so just as the church was the place years ago where we received our political advice, which is why for years politicians always went to the church when it was time for elections and things. They knew that if they came to the church, if the pastor endorsed them, they had the endorsement 9 times out of 10 of a congregation of people. As hairstylists, we are in that same position, I believe. We are the one we have access to a group of people to be able to talk about various things and really give ideas and open people's minds and just have an exchange of ideas about various things. And it's so important as of right now because of all the things that we are facing. So I would say, again, what is it that you're talking about? What are you talking about when your clients come in? I think it is a great opportunity for us to be able to talk just for a moment. You don't have to have a 2-hour conversation, but just for a moment to say, hey, what are your thoughts about this? And if there are any resources, if you guys have a commonality in idea, if there are any resources that you can share that. Like, one thing that I share with a lot of my clients is the podcasts that I listen to that offer ideas and different frames of thought to me. I share that with them so that they can also have the benefit of that, and then we can also have an exchange of ideas. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much just for listening, and I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, your Saturday, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.